it's lockdown session 11, which makes it sound like we've only done 11 sessions of Kung Fusion since lockdown began. But it's kind of more the case of since we've caught up with technology. So just to give you a kind of a breakdown where we've been going, we've kind of gone through a sequence using the blanket and the staff to kind of help with our movement. And then we began that sequence with a discussion about fascia, the mythical, misunderstood fascia. And we kind of ended that sequence on number 9 with some, I think some people found it quite frustrating because it was quite small movements and it wasn't really what they were expecting from a martial arts session. However, it's a really key and important thing. The closest way I can equate these movements is the true understanding of the yin-yang principle within Kung Fu. Because one of the ideas that we've been utilizing is how can you push without pulling? How can you pull without pushing? So the idea behind a lot of these things is about syncing one part of the body to raise up another one. And it can take a massive engagement of the brain to kind of work this out sometimes. So this evening we're going to start lying down and we're going to be very, very gentle, partly because it's very warm and partly because we don't have to be doing massive, gross movement to be exercising and working with our body. It's more so about moving correctly, how we can harness the body's way of working. So we're going to start lying down on our back. What we're going to look at, as well as starting with a very, very small sequence of movement, we're up side of the waist, either side of the pelvis. I'm going to just point the toes, keep them pointing towards the front, and see whether I can use that weight of the feet to just take some of the pressure off the foot. Lift it up. So if you like, you're not using your arms to push, like so. I'm using them. They're already locked into place, and I'm using them as anchor points. So now I can use the pushing of the feet to lift up. And we've done this before now. We can lift the right foot up. Down. We can lift the left foot up. Place it down. I like to do a little bit of growing. Make sure that the arms are nice and straight. Lift the right foot up and push it forwards. Place it on the floor. Pick the left foot up. Push it forwards. Place it on the floor. And now again, put the heels into the floor, point the toes, and use that to lift yourself up. Now, if you feel like it, you can see whether you can just shift the weight a little bit, and whether you can pick both feet up. Nice. So now you draw in, and we want to breathe. This is the only way to move. It's an idea. I want to bring our hands together into the prayer position. And this action here, let's just go from side to side. And just let the weight of the hands do the work forward. We're not pushing. We're not hyperextending. We're just moving. The body wants to move. It needs to move. If we don't move, things start to seize up. And like I discussed on Friday's session, there are people in the world who actually lock joints out on purpose because the idea is that our mind can overcome the discomfort, and the body adapts. The body adapts very, very quickly, forwards and backwards. And this is why it's important, in my opinion, that we explore as many different exercise ideas as possible. And I'm not a bodybuilder, but I have lifted weights. I'm not a huge fan of that process. However, when I was into my kettlebells, I really buzzed off it. Let's make a circle. I want it to be as loose as possible. No tension. Just letting it roll. Passing it through. And through. And then we'll come back the other way. And then we'll come back to the center, and now we're going to open the lotus. And I found myself using this motion in lots of different things that I do now when I'm going through. And it's just paying attention, particularly when I'm doing forward folds and back bends. Standing up, I find my hands just do this naturally. Change direction. Couple more. And then I want you to stop with the backs of the hands together. It makes me chuckle. It's a headband, and it's got elastic on it and a tennis ball, and you kind of box it. And the video shows this young lad, and he is really good at it. I know I get black eye from doing it. I worry about things like that because if you've seen the film The Jerk, you'll know about the things on your nose that make you go cross-eyed. So I worry about this idea of boom, boom, a bouncy ball fastened to my head. But it works. But we don't need to go that complicated. I saw a chap doing a thing the other day about how to do mitt work at home. Oh, you haven't got mitts. So he went down to his, as he called it, his dollar store, and he bought some sliders. Well, why do you need the sliders? Why can't you just use your hands? Why do you need to have a mitt there? The ball, we're going to use it to jab. We're going to do a little bit of jabbing practice. I'm going to try and keep the ball in the center. Now remember, when we do this, I bounce here, snatch, draw back, bounce, change, snap. This is the key part to your jab. Now if you haven't got a ball, you have to just go jab, and the hand comes out and it snatches back. It's a great practice in a field of dandelions. Grabbing the dandelion seed. Maybe that's what I should call this technique. Grabbing the dandelion seed, change your feet. Because what this does is it helps get our footwork going. We're going to need this footwork in a moment. And when we're using an object like the ball, it stops us thinking about what our feet are doing. And I see this all the time when people are either working on a bag, and you can see them thinking about the footwork. Find ways that allow you to jab. Now, if you haven't got some jab, get on your back, or give yourself a little spot on the wall. Oops. And if you lose the ball, it doesn't matter, because I put another one here. Do a little bit of practice. And you know what? If you've got a sunny window, look for a mote of dust. See whether you can jump that. Moving around, changing the position. Changing the position. A bit higher then. Out, snatch. Out, snatch. Out, snatch. Whoops. Remember, the person who has never failed at anything has never tried anything. Jab, switch, jab, switch, jab, switch, jab, switch, jab, switch. 1, 2, 1, 2. So if you like, You've got two different kind of bits of footwork going on. I've got the first bounce here to catch and return. The second bounce is where I change my feet. Catch, change. Catch, change. And the hand must come back. For something to go out, it must come back. It reacts. And if there's no reaction in a conflict situation, there's no need for the conflict. If this isn't pushing back at me, there's no need for me to elbow strike it. It's only when this engages, and this is not a football on string, it's now some sort of thug you like, or thug that you don't like. Stance. Again, I'm behind the camera. You can't see me. Well, you can. But what I'm doing now is I'm moving out of the way. This is the key, because I've moved out of the way and I've struck, so the response will come past the shoulder. You think about somebody who's trying to lay a punch on you, bop, bop, do it like an MMA person. No, sorry again, my apologies. Fists closed, always fist closed. We haven't got time to wrap our hands up. In, strike. I want to now change the angle, strike. This time I'm going to turn it back to strike. And then I batter through it. So I'm looking at ways that allow me to, and I've missed twice then. I hit it once, the other two were gone. But the thing is that if I respond to this, slide off, elbow cuts in, as I'm now moving here to strike again, if I'm missing, it's not a problem, because it means that he or it doesn't want to come back at me, because the elbows are coming up. And you imagine if you throw a punch onto that. It's not happening, is it? You're only going to do that once before you change your tactics or go, do you know what? That's really silly. Off, move. Off, move. See how it's by my shoulder? Unwind. Missed on the third one. These are great. They're not expensive. They're easy to make. There is a video of how to make one on the group chat. But again, the amount that cost is not a huge expense, and you can set them up on a tree outside. You know, you don't have to have them inside. But it's this response, and if I don't move, it hits me. I've got to think about how I'm moving in relationship to it. Missed. But how many times do you have to hit them with an elbow? How many times do you have to hit an opponent